Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I'm going to talk about the official trailer that came out at the time of me recording this for Hawkeye. If you haven't seen it already, I'll include a link to it in the description down below. But it's so fascinating. I don't know how to perfectly describe this tone. It almost feels a little die-hardish, but I don't know if that'd be the appropriate thing. It's so crazy, because I wasn't sure what to expect tonally from this show. I like that they are kind of leaning into this craziness of it, because it's almost like old man Hawkeye, because you see him falling and stumbling and getting hurt. He got banged up during some of their adventures, but I feel like this is the worst we've ever seen him. I mean, because usually we've always seen him having backup. This is him going solo, so seeing him kind of get pretty jacked up and having to ice himself all over his body, it's just kind of because I love it. It's the whole thing of oh, I'm hanging out with my family, right? Don't worry, I'm gonna be back home for Christmas. You don't have to worry about anything. He's keeping his family in the dark, because I'm sure them, as well as the general public, is in the dark about oh yeah, that 5 years or so that you were running around as Ronin, killing criminals like it was nobody's business. Because it was interesting, because we find out that Kate Bishop has been running around as Ronin, and you're like, why would you do that? And even when she runs into Hawkeye, she's like, oh my god, you're Hawkeye. It's it makes sense, you're a big time celebrity, superhero and everything. But I guess it's generally not known. Only those in the know about him being Ronin. So, but it's right, why would you go around? So I guess maybe she has her own issues with the criminal world, and that basically Ronin disappeared, so she wanted to pick up the slack, because I guess a lot of criminals from the underworld ran scared, and so she wanted to kind of keep the city straight, because we don't know her circumstances, because she could be someone that's living on the streets, and so maybe she's trying to take care of the community in a certain regard of a lot of those criminals have come back out of the woodwork because they think no one's going to keep them in line, because the Avengers are one thing, but they're usually dealing with bigger things, not the smaller scale things. So Ronin kind of covered that for a while, but now that the world's kind of returning to a little bit of order, criminal business is back to usual type of thing. So, but I also love, like I said, he's trying to keep this from his family. He's like, nah, I'm gonna be back home soon, everything's gonna be fine. I think it's gonna be interesting too, because I feel like nothing's really showcased Hawkeye's reflexes like this might, because in fact, if someone threw a Molotov in the window, the fact is that he grabbed a Molotov and threw it in one smooth motion like that. I was like, oh, I don't know if they've ever really shown his athleticism like that. Obviously it's not just with the bow and arrow that he's skilled even in that regard. I mean, I guess it's if anything's getting thrown his way, he can easily throw it back. But obviously I love that even Kate Bishop is giving herself that, oh yeah, I'm known as kind of one of the best archers around. So I was like, oh, do other people give you that name, or do you do that name to yourself? But the fact, like I said, they're making this almost like an action-y Christmas movie, just fun shenanigans and stuff like that, because his past is rearing its ugly head, and he has to kind of because like I said, the criminal world has probably come back even harder, because he struck fear in them for a while, but now they come back even stronger. So it's he probably did more harm than good. I mean, granted, everyone went a little crazy after the blip. I mean, because half the population of Earth disappeared. Obviously, in the greater scheme things, because not everyone knew this at the time, but obviously it's half the universe was gone. So obviously, Hawkeye was able, it's understandable he lost his entire family. So you're going to end up going a little crazy. You want to lash out. And this show might also present an opportunity to see more, showcasing more of what he did as Ronin, because obviously we only got a tiny window into that in Endgame, so we're probably going to get a lot more of that. I also love that a theming thing throughout this is Rogers the Musical. I love that. It's there's a freaking musical about Steve Rogers, which I think is so interesting, because I think we showcase it even more, because I think at one point it seemed like there were I don't know if that was supposed to be Asgardians being musicaled up or whatever in that regard, but because you see people who look like they might have been kind of having a Nordic design to them, but also they're having weapons and axes and stuff so I was is that supposed to be the Asgardian part of that? Because I think it's so interesting, because it seems because it's one of those interesting things about superhero movies and TV shows that you don't see too much, the merchandising and the commercialization of superheroes. Because it's right, when you take the real world, superheroes get commercialized, and so obviously the same thing would apply, in a reality where they're real. The only thing I know that really leans into that, because like I said, some stuff has done it here and there. The one that has done it the most consistently is The Boys, obviously kind of to a negative light, but obviously the endorsements, the movies, the commercials and stuff like that. So The Boys has leaned into it more, so I appreciate the fact this is oh my god, there's literally a musical about Steve Rogers, probably other heroes spring, we get little bits of it, but I just also like that Kate's like, oh my god, that arrow you just shot, like your arrows get more dangerous than this. Like, you know, she's probably used to doing like using regular arrows and not all like the crazy trick arrows that Hawkeye has. But I also love just like how much fun she's kind of having with it, and just obviously this secret he's keeping from his family, because he's probably like supposed to not be doing any superhero stuff. You're supposed to be staying low key. It's probably part of the, you know, the arrangement that Scott had brought up during Ant-Man and the Wasp about like, right, his circumstances as well as Clint's circumstances. No, that might have actually gotten referenced in Infinity War, but obviously you see it tied in even more with Scott in Ant-Man and the Wasp about like the deals that they made. So he probably was like, the deal's probably back in place now that the world kind of returned to normal. So he's probably not supposed to be doing any superheroing stuff currently, so that's probably why, because he's not like running. I mean, there's a few shots throughout where he's like dressed up as Hawkeye, but other times he's just like in regular clothes. I wonder if it's going to be kind of very spy action comedy thriller-esque, because you see at some point like he's at a party or something, he's in a suit and he's running and like glasses shattering. So it just honestly looks like it's going to be a fun time, and it's so interesting. Like I wasn't expecting that to be the tone, because I thought it was going to be like super serious. Because something they haven't touched on, and it's kind of spoilers for Black Widow. So, but obviously the whole Yelena situation, because Valentina like set it up so that he believes he's responsible for Natasha's death. So we got that at the end of Black Widow, but I'm curious, because we haven't seen hide nor hair of her in the trailer, but it could be like she has a smaller role than you would kind of assume, or maybe that's just kind of a secret they're hiding, because I think this is only supposed to be 6 episodes like Loki and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I could be mistaken. So, but honestly, I'm really excited. I'm one of those people that I've never had issues. Like, I can understand people's criticisms of like Hawkeye and Black Widow, but I've always really enjoyed them, and I was always interested to see this series. Now kind of getting a better understanding to some extent what the show is going to be about, I'm even more excited. So but obviously this is just some of the stuff going through my mind. I love to get to know your thoughts in the comments down below. What you think of the trailer? Are you excited? What are some things you want to see from this? What are some things you expect to see? Because I know, because some people are wondering if it's going to pull a little bit from like the comic book. Was it there's a specific comic book people reference when it comes to this particular show, because the title is kind of reminiscent of the same like style and font of the comic book. So there's a particular run of Hawkeye, a specific comic, that people are wondering, is this going to pull from in certain regards? So if you are familiar with the comic book based on what we saw in the trailer, do you feel like that is the case? Let me know all that in the comments down below. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.